Hi, I am Fred from therequirementsengineer.com. In this video, I show you how to print a Draw.io diagram. You will learn the exact workflow step by step. I also show you the most important print settings. For example, selection only, page view, crop, fit to sheets, border width, zoom, and grid. This is useful when you want to use your diagram in a meeting, a workshop, a document, or a PDF export. The important point is simple. Printing starts in Draw.io, but the final printout depends on both the Draw.io print settings and your system print settings. So let us go step by step. If you like practical tutorials about Draw.io, modeling, and requirements engineering, please subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss the next videos. What is Draw.io? Draw.io, also known as diagrams.net, is a flexible diagramming tool. I use it for flowcharts, process diagrams, UML models, network diagrams, and many other visuals. I can drag shapes onto the canvas. Then I can connect them with arrows. After that, I can add labels and structure the diagram. As a result, Draw.io helps me turn complex information into clear visual models. In this example, I use a simple troubleshooting process. It explains what to do when a device does not work. This makes the print workflow easy to understand. Why should I print a Draw.io diagram? Sometimes a digital diagram is not enough. In a team meeting, a printed diagram can help everyone focus on the same visual. In a workshop, people can write notes directly on the paper. In documentation, a printed or PDF version can preserve an important process. I also like printing to PDF first. That way I can check the result before I print on paper. This saves time and it prevents bad printouts. Step 1. I open my diagram in Draw.io. Here it is already open. Then I go to the top menu. I click File. After that, I select Print. I can also use the shortcuts Ctrl and P. This opens the Draw.io print dialog. This is the correct place to prepare the diagram for printing. Step 2. Now Draw.io opened the print dialog. Here I decide what part of the diagram I want to print. And I decide how the diagram should fit on the paper or in the PDF. The dialog includes several useful options. Let us look at them one by one. The first option is selection only. I use this when I only want to print selected shapes. For example, I may have a large process model. but I only want to print one part of it for a meeting. Then I select that part on the canvas. After that, I activate selection only. This keeps the printout focused. The next option is Page View. Page View prints the current diagram page view. I use this when my diagram already fits well on the visible page. This is often useful for smaller diagrams. It is also useful when I prepared the diagram layout carefully before printing. The next option is Crop. Crop removes unnecessary white space around the diagram. This can make the printout cleaner. For example, if the diagram uses only a small part of the page, Crop can reduce the empty area. However, I use this option carefully. Sometimes a little white space makes a printout easier to read. The next option is Fit to Sheets. Here I can define how many sheets the diagram should use. For example, I can print the diagram across one sheet wide and one sheet down. That is useful when I want the complete diagram on one page. For a very large diagram, I can also spread it across several sheets. This can help when I want to print a large process model for a wall or a workshop. Next, I can set the border width. This controls the margin around the diagram. A larger border gives the diagram more space. A smaller border uses more of the available paper area. For documentation, I usually prefer a clean margin. It makes the page look more professional. Next, I can adjust the zoom value. Zoom controls the scale of the diagram. If the diagram looks too small, I can increase the zoom. If the diagram does not fit, I can reduce the zoom. This setting is especially useful when I want to balance readability and page fit. The next option here is Grid. When I activate Grid, Draw.io includes the grid lines in the printout. This can be useful for technical alignment checks. However, I usually keep the grid turned off for professional documents. The grid helps me while modeling, but it can distract from the diagram content in a final printout. The last option is Shadow. When I activate Shadow, Draw.io adds a small shadow around the printed diagram area. This can make the diagram stand out more clearly on the page. It can also make the printout look a little more visual and presentation-like. However, I use this option carefully. For formal documentation, I often prefer a clean layout without shadow. But for handouts, workshops, or visual presentation, a subtle shadow can make the printed diagram look more polished. Step 3. After I choose the right options, I click OK. This does not print the diagram immediately in every environment. Instead, Draw.io passes the print job to the system print dialog. That is why there are two important steps. First, I configure the Draw.io print settings Then I configure the system print settings. Now that the system print dialog opens, in this example, Microsoft Print to PDF is selected. This means I can save the diagram as a PDF file. Of course, I can also choose a physical printer. The exact option may look different on your computer. That depends on your operating system and printer setup. But the basic idea stays the same. I choose the printer, I check the orientation, I check the pages, and then I print. Here I can check the orientation. In this example, the setting is Portrait. Portrait works well for vertical layouts. Landscape works better for wide diagrams. If my diagram grows from left to right, I usually choose Landscape. If my diagram grows from top to bottom, I usually choose Portrait. This small setting can make a big difference. In this example, the system says that the app does not support print review. That can happen. And it is one reason why I often print to PDF first. A PDF printout gives me a preview result. Then I can check the layout before I use real paper. This is a simple way to avoid wasting paper and ink if print review does not work. Step 4. When the settings look correct, I click Print. If I selected a physical printer, the diagram goes to the printer. If I selected Microsoft Print to PDF, I can save the file as a PDF. This gives me a digital printout. And I can share it by email, upload it to documentation, or print it. I call it printed diagram. And I click Save. Now I look at the final result. In this example, the diagram appears on the printed page. I check whether all shapes are visible. I check whether the labels are readable. I also check whether the diagram has too much empty space. If the diagram is too small, I go back and adjust zoom or fit to sheets. If the diagram is cut off, I check the page orientation and scaling. If the printout has too much white space, I try crop or adjust the diagram layout. Here you can see why a PDF check is useful. The diagram is printed on the page, but I can immediately see whether the layout works. This is much safer than printing directly to paper without checking anything. For important diagrams, I always recommend this extra step. Let me summarize the workflow. First, I open my diagram in Draw.io. Then I click File. After that, I choose Print. In the Draw.io print dialog, I configure the output. I decide whether I want selection only, page view, crop, or fit to sheets. Then I adjust border width, zoom and grid if needed. After that, I click OK. Then I choose the printer or PDF output in the System Print dialog. Finally, I print or save the result. Printing a Draw.io diagram is simple, but good print results need the right settings. I use Fit to Sheets when I want to control the number of pages. I use Zoom when I want to improve readability. I use Crop when I want to remove unnecessary empty space. And I print to PDF first when I want to check the layout safely. As a result, I can create cleaner printouts for meetings, workshops, documentation, and presentations. If this video helped, please support the channel, like the video, and subscribe for more Draw.io tutorials. Thank you very much. Also tell me in the comments, do you usually print Draw.io diagrams on paper? Or do you mostly save them as PDF files? Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.